You're listening to Rocket Night.
Are you ready? Hey, tonight I'm gonna take you on a little trip. We're going down south by the mighty Mississippi. I'm gonna take you to a place where lights never dim. Bring your mother, your brother, and your best friend. I'm gonna show you where they dance out in the street. They'll tell you all about your body heat. I'm not gonna talk about it, just gonna do it. Get on down.
For those people who are not local to the New Jersey scene, I'm sure the people who are deeply into music are aware of City Gardens. And
Right.
Randy was the promoter for City Gardens. And he is, I feel like Wayne's World right now. I'm not worthy.
Oh.
So how did you get started, Randy, in promoting?
Well, I guess going back to my childhood, I was into promoting because we were poor. And I used to get together little shows or little, like, street, like, sales, like yard sales, but as in a 10-year-old kid doing it. And my older brother, he liked to act too. And we would put on, like, shows in the backyard, like we would have the clothes hangers outside, and we'd put a sheet down, and that would be, the back sheet, the front sheet, whatever. And we would put on shows. And we'd charge, a penny probably or 2 cents. And that's how I really started. Then in high school, I was president of my class my freshman, sophomore, junior year. And I brought some bands into the high school, actually, and I wanted to bring in big bands and into the gymnasium. And the gym teacher at the time, and this was 1971, 72, he says, well, if you're going to have a dance, you have to make it a sock hop, and everybody wears socks. And I was looking at Brewster Colt, like when they had their first album now. I'm thinking, nobody's going to wear socks to see Brewster Colt. So that idea came and went. But something else I did when I was a sophomore, the sophomore class, when I was president, we sponsored a trip to go see Jethro Tull. And this was the Thick as a Brick tour, so that'd be 72. So I'm a sophomore or junior, and we I went and did all the work. We went to the Spectrum and bought 50 tickets, and I called up, I guess, Star Bus Company up here and arranged for a bus. We went, 50 kids and maybe 3 or 4 teachers went, and the teachers were shocked because people were, smoking pot and handed the joint to the teacher. A couple kids came drunk. They were in the back of the bus drinking,
Oh, wow.
So that was a one-shot deal, too. I never really talked about that, though. But I'll share that one with you. But I guess always promoting. But, I played in bands the end of my high school into, when I was 18, 19 years old. I played with a band called Construction. And they changed their name a few times, and band members, they became a pretty big band on the East Coast, like cover bands. I mean, they were getting like $5 grand, $10 grand a night at the time. They were called Strange as Angels. And they did really well, but I was never part of that. So then I had another band, and the band broke up, and I was DJing at this redneck bar called the Central House down in New Egypt. And he said, yeah, you can come in and play records. And I went out and bought a second turntable and a mixing board and, went all wild, of course. And at this time now, I'm a mailman about at least 50 hours every week, 50 hours, winter, summer, fall, spring. And so I'm playing like Graham Parker, Elvis Costello, the Sex Pistols, and they hated me. They hated me. And then we had all these rednecks that were coming from the New Egypt Speedway.
Yeah.
And they would come down and, they'd say, hey, play Led Zeppelin. And I would put on, Elvis Costello. There's the new Led Zeppelin song. And they were like, oh, F you. You shot. There's one guy pulled the plug out of the wall,
Oh,
and
wow.
I mean, looking back, it was funny. But what it happened was when he pulled it out of the wall, it blew the fuses in these speakers I had, and I had to shut down. So I just went from there, and
Now,
I'm trying to think how did I get to, I guess, yeah, I was DJing, and then I saw an ad in the local paper for this real tiny little, like, 1 inch by 1 inch ad for this club called City Gardens. I called up the number and just said I'm a new wave DJ, and the owner said, "A new what?" And he didn't know what new wave was. But he said, "Oh, come out and see what happens." So I came out, and my God, the area it's in, and it was scary in the 80s. I don't even know what it's like in the 2020s, talking 40 years later now, 35, 40 years later. So it just, it grew. There was 7 people the first night, and there was 11 the next Sunday, and then the WTSR radio, college radio, found me, and and then the Trenton State College at the time, Trenton State newspaper did a story on it, and then a Princeton paper did a story, and a Trenton paper did a story, and I mean, it just got bigger and bigger. It grew and grew, and then I said, I have some friends that play in a band. Can I bring them in here? And they said, yeah. And that was a band called The Shades. They did mostly originals, which nobody else was doing out there, and because of the fact they weren't doing all covers, they were perfect for us, and their few fans loved them for their originals too. So we brought them in, and that, every Thursday night they were there. And I just said, let me just try to get some other bands, and slowly, and they were going to play a place called Hitsville in Passaic. Maybe your parents know it. And it got shut down. And I don't know how I found out, because again, looking back, there was no internet. I didn't have any connections, but somehow I found out who their agent was, called them up, and the agent was actually Ian Copeland, who is Stuart Copeland's brother from the Police.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was 3 Copeland brothers. Miles, he started the record label IRS and managed the Police. Then there was Stuart Copeland, the drummer, with the Police, and then Ian Copeland was called FBI Booking, and he was booking the Police, and he was bringing over all these, Sex Pistols. He had Joan Jett. The first thing he did was he gave me $999. He says, you got to give me $2,500 and a 50% deposit. So I didn't have any idea, like, if I'm getting ripped off, are they really a $1,000 band? But I said, okay, and we gave him a $1,250 deposit, and the show did like 500 people, and we charged $5. And, $5 at the time was unheard of. I was like, yeah, because I knew who they were, and, they were big on college radio. So we did that, and it did really well. And he says, I got this girl named Jet. Would you like to book Joan Jett for me? And I said, yeah. And then they just kept coming from that point. Buzzcocks.
Wow.
I'm trying, Gang of Four. Most of his bands were British. And also, I've been friends with a lady named Ruth Polsky. So there's a great story about her. She was great for bringing bands in from England. She was bringing in Bauhaus and Madness and Specials. And she died. She was killed by a taxi in front of a nightclub.
Wow.
Which was going to be doing a benefit that night for something, but she was out front, and the taxi hit her. I always wonder what the music biz would be like if Ruth Bolsky was still alive. But if you want to look her up, the Wikipedia, she was amazing. I don't know why there may be a book about her actually, but I guess she was so smart, and she was a Jersey girl too.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to look her up then. What made City Gardens so special out of all? There were, you have Philadelphia and you have the venues in Philadelphia, but City Gardens was just special.
Yes, and it wasn't due to the beautiful beautification of the building or anything. It was, it was a black wall dump. I an old warehouse. Uh, when it grew, like from 7 people to 11 to 13 to 25, we were appealing to a little section of, the world or the area. People wanted to hear Wall of Voodoo. And before this, you had to go to New York or Philadelphia to see them. And it was, kind of like a shortcut to seeing bands coming to Trenton. And the other thing is, it was 18 to drink then in New Jersey. And Pennsylvania it always stayed 21 and never went down. So we had the bonus of people, the kids like in Bucks County and even North Philadelphia County, we just crossed the bridge. It was a free bridge right on County Street, called the County Street Bridge. I could come over here and drink as 18, 19, 20-year-olds. And they get their car and go home. And, I kept up with the mailing list. And it was always like 49 to 50 to 51% for, going back and forth, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So definitely half of our crowd came from Pennsylvania. And we had the advantage of, the 18, 19, 20-year-olds for a few years. Of course, it's gradually changed back. But, obviously that was a big help. And I don't know. I just thought I did a smart job, a good job, DJing
absolutely.
and picking bands.
We were talking earlier about my high school and how popular City Garden was. And you are absolutely right about kids having to lie to their parents about going to City Gardens because nobody wanted their kids to go to Trenton. But kids lied and City Gardens kept, they were full always with people.
I know that probably most of them, and that was the thing. The club was all ages. There was no alcohol where the kids were. It was like in a back room, and there was nobody over 21 for God's sakes. But all the high school kids were coming. And, you saw one high school kid at this high school, we'll say Hopewell, and they bring 3 people with them. Lambertville, New Hope, Bordentown, Burlington, and every Sunday we were doing these, I called them matinees. They were 6 o'clock, hardcore shows, punk rock shows. Every Sunday, one Sunday you could see Iggy Pop, the next Sunday you could see Green Day, the next Sunday you could see Bad Religion, the next Sunday you could see Slayer. So these kids are really lucky, actually, to every week they could count on a show on Sunday, and it even developed into like, well, I don't even know this band, but I'm going to come here and hang out with my friends. It was also like a place for misfits. And I feel like I was a misfit in high school, even though, I said I was president of my class for 3 years. But, I wasn't cool enough to hang out with the hippies, even though I liked all that music and knew it better than them. And I was too young to hang out with the teachers. But later in life, I actually hung out with 2 of my high school teachers. Very, really interesting. And especially the ones that went to the Fairfield Soul concert. We had a little bit of a secret thing going, like I said, with the pot, passing the pot down to the teachers.
The documentary, right, on the dance floor. For those people who don't know, it's the story of Randy Now in City Gardens. How did that come to be? Did someone?
Okay. So there was a book before the film, actually. No slam dancing, no stage diving, no spikes, and it's more focused on the City Gardens, the club, and the people, and me. But the film is actually, shows me, and I can tell you. Again, after it was gone, done, shut down, I was doing other things in my life. I was delivering newspapers for 10 years, but successfully in Robbinsville, as a matter of fact. Every once in a while, I would get an email from somebody. I'd like to write a book about the club. I'd like to make a film about the club. And I'd say, go ahead. Knock yourself out. And probably the first 50 people each asked me about a book and about a film. just it never happened. And then the last two people, one for the book, one for the film, they went through with it. And it was pretty neat. We got mentioned on the Jon Stewart Ellis show.
He was a bartender, right, at the City Gardens?
Yeah, he was a bartender, probably about 4 years.
Wow.
And then I remember him saying, I can't come in the bartend this weekend. I'm going to be on MTV with my own show. I was like, whoa. I think he also took the place of, who was the guy, the black guy that used to go all the time? Who was that?
Was it Arsenio Hall?
That's it. Well, John took over his Arsenio Hall.
Ah, he did. Okay.
Yeah, he took over that first and then went to MTV. But maybe he was just like a guest host. It was a real short period. A lot of people don't even know that.
Yeah.
And I also hear that he was on Mystery Science Theater 2000 or 1000 years ago.
Yes.
And I just met Joel recently, who does the modern day Mystery Science Theater. I told him I worked with John. He was like out of his mind. Just wanted to talk to me. So, so these two people finally went ahead and did it. Of course, that's when the era of GoFundMe was just coming on strong too. So on the computer, both of them were putting GoFundMes up, and both of them. A lot of people were interested in it. Yeah, I want to see, what it was like again. I like to relive it. I'll help you. A couple people became pretty successful out of there and gave, a lot of money, actually, like 4-digit money, 4-digit dollar money, and which is nice, awesome. So they've been out for a while.
A lot of bands are still going strong out there, that played your venue. And you've also spoke about having bands stay over at your house. What was that like?
Yeah, nobody knew that. Nobody knew I was, so close to the bands. And then a couple of bands asked me to tour manage them because they trusted me. And I went out and tour managed a band called Then I did Bad Religion. And then I did a big tour with the band Guar, coast to coast. And then I was asked to tour manage a tour called Ska Boogie, 1990. It was the biggest names in ska at the time. It was members of the English Beat and the Specials. It was called Special Beat. Then there was the Toasters, the Selector, and we also had the Scatolites, who were the guys that pretty much invented ska music in the 60s. And at that time, 4 of them, the originals, were still alive. And I were on the tour, too. So, people trusted me. And bands, Guar, all 16 of them would stay at the farmhouse I had. I had an apartment in New York for a while. Rancid and Fugazi used to stay over all the time, when they were on tour.
Wow.
But nobody sees like that part of it. A lot of people think I was their enemy, but now I get the emails, hey man, thanks for what you did, and I appreciate it. I wish I wasn't just a punk rock kid and I went and saw other types of music there, like Ministry or even reggae, with any of the reggae bands I booked. I was just a punk rock head then. But it's funny, right now I'm putting together in the mail, I'm mailing to Connecticut one of the Riot on the Dance Floor CDs, actually a Blu-ray.
Now, do you still keep in touch with the bands?
No, I can tell you, every time Green Day plays New Jersey, and of course they're playing for, 10,000 people now, they always say their favorite shows ever in New Jersey were at City Gardens. And I can tell you, the first time Green Day played, we recorded it on cassette. And Billy Joe says, this is the biggest crowd we've ever played for.
Wow.
And it was, 1,000 people. But we're 3,000 miles from home. And here they were getting 1,000 people from New Jersey. And, they sold out of their T-shirts. They were probably buying more T-shirts.
What year was
sold
that?
Out of them. It was the year before Dookie. So I'm going to say 90 or 91, because one time they canceled their tour. It was like nobody wanted them, but I was like, oh my God. So, and also that Billy said in that first show, this is the first time we've ever had monitors to actually hear ourselves. And pretty neat. I wish they would stop back and say hi. But maybe they'll see this article and contact me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping, this coronavirus has hurt a lot of businesses, including, record stores. How can, people who, thanks to you, discovered this amazing music, how can we help during this time?
Okay, what I've done for the store, which is Randy Nail's Man Cave, I've set up a section where you can purchase gift certificates. And basically, I'll send you the certificate in the mail, whatever amount you send me. And it's good for you to use when we open back up. That money right now, though, is helping me pay these bills. I just paid May's rent, thank God, and I told the landlord, I don't know what to tell you about June if this goes on. So, and there's also actually a donation. And I'm happy and shocked to see how nice and how well it's going. And, there's been a couple, like, $100 and $200 donations, but I'd rather see, like, 100 people get $10 than one person get $1,000. I don't need much. I don't ask for much. But every business in the entertainment field right now, coast to coast, is asking for donations and gift certificates. And even McCarter Theater right now is looking for money to pay whatever they have to pay. Maybe they have to pay the actors. I don't know. All the shows I had here had to be postponed and canceled. And nobody knows when we're going to be able to have live concerts in a building again. A couple of my bands, the Undertones and the band called ATV, were from Europe. And their tours were canceled. Undertones, even if they moved the Undertones dates, they still couldn't make it because their work visa papers were up like May 1. So that wasn't going to happen either.
You've had to cancel a few shows, too, because bands come to your store and they play live as well. And that's a big part of of making money, the live bands.
Yeah. And, the bands I bring in here are bands that are really on a level above the size of this space. But because of friendship over the years from City Gardens and agents, I've been getting some pretty big names to play in here for me. And, so when, again, I mentioned the Undertones, their tour was canceled. So that, I had to refund everybody's money for that. And they can't come now till 2021 because their work visas, ran out. Same thing with a band from Scotland called ATV. But all the American bands, everything's off, canceled.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, so those shows are actually postponed. I use the word canceled, that's one word. Postponed, which means that everybody has a ticket. We'll get into the next show when it's rescheduled. And we can't reschedule. I do have 2 new dates, like in October, one for Robert Hitchcock and one for this band that does, they're called The Resurrection of Screamin' Jay Hawkins. It's like a pro band out of New York, and I found them. They came down and played, and they loved it, and they're going to come back. For Halloween, it's perfect for a Halloween type show and band. But who knows? Who knows if it's going to happen yet?
Before we go, if you want to plug in any information, website where people can. I mean, I'm going to put all these links online and everything, but
sure. Okay. Well, there is a website. It's www.mancavenj.com. Look, the best and the favorite and the one that's most up to date is my Facebook, which is, www.facebook.com/Randy Nail's Man Cave. Here you can see all the links for everything.
Randy, thank you so much. Well,
When we reopen, you have to come visit.
yes, and and I live so close. I live like 15, 20 minutes away. As soon as the store opens, I'm gonna take a trip down there with Matt. And when I hear if the Dipsomaniacs come up with something, I'll send you an email so that you can be on the loop.
You made me blush when you said, I'm honored to speak to you. Save the cave. That's
Save the cave. That's
Save
perfect.
the cave. All righty, thanks.
Okay, bye, Randy. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.